Well, yesterday I told you about the history of Deschutes Brewing, about its unique corporate culture and how the company chose to come to Roanoke. Well, recently I traveled to Bend, Oregon to look at how Deschutes has helped transform Bend into one of the fastest growing communities in the nation, with the idea of looking at how it might be able to have a similar impact here in Virginia. Outdoor enthusiasts naturally seem to flock to Bend, Oregon. It's because of the region's amazing natural attractions, like the Deschutes River, and an amazing network of trails for hiking and biking.
Going to see if we can find some trails somewhere. We ride our bikes and hope to get some miles in.
And there's something else.
The beer last night at Deschutes Brewery last night. Yep.
The city's famous ale trail is front and center at the city's Visitors Bureau.
I think the craft beer culture is just synonymous with who we are as a community now.
Kevney Dugan is CEO of Visit Bend. He told us about the city's ale trail, where visitors make stops at 10 to 15 craft breweries, usually over a series of visits to Bend, in order to earn a locally made souvenir called a silly pint.
Yeah, pliable silicone pint glass.
Increasingly, he says, the city's beer and outdoor culture are turning tourists into residents and residents into businesses.
Nationally, you're seeing a lot of that movement where people are really saying, you know, day in, day out, what do I want to be doing? In a place like Bend, you know, it's big enough to have the amenities you need or would want. You know, we have great dining, great craft beer, great craft distilleries, and on top of that, there's great quality of life during your downtime.
While the outdoors has obviously always been in Bend, Deschutes Brewery has only been there since 1988. The beer culture began with Deschutes, which seems to have meshed seamlessly with the outdoors. I went for a mountain bike ride with Deschutes digital marketing manager Jason Randalls along 10 miles of the Deschutes River. He says the outdoors permeates the company's culture.
Culture is such a huge thing for us at the brewery, a huge part of who we are, so wanted to make sure that the town, our East Coast location, fit kind of that similar vibe, and especially with the outdoors. You know, some of us joke that the environment, the outdoors, is kind of like that fifth element in our beer.
And company leaders say when they get to Roanoke, they want the valley's environment to bring that same vibe to their East Coast operation. But they also want to help Roanoke capitalize on its outdoor amenities just as Bend has. Are you going to bring a little bit of Bend to Roanoke?
We think so. I think Roanoke is probably ahead of where Bend was back then in 1988. I think last time I went to Roanoke, downtown seemed more vibrant than when we first visited there.
Run back and do that loop.
Roger Lee, in charge of economic development for Central Oregon, says Roanoke is lucky to get Deschutes.
They have been such an excellent corporate citizen as well. It's not just about producing beer, but I think it's about, you know, they're very engaged in making this place a better community, and I think Roanoke will definitely feel that.
And Deschutes CEO and founder Gary Fish says they chose a place where they hope they could make an impact.
We know that we can be a participant in the community just by being who we are, and we expect that to happen in Roanoke. As I mentioned, part of the reason that I think we ended up in Roanoke is because we could see that, and we could be a bigger part of the solution there.
But he is careful not to suggest that Roanoke needs Deschutes, only that it appears to be a good match.
To say Roanoke needed us is really not, I mean, that kind of belittles the relationship. That's not the point. The point is we can be who we are better, I think, in Roanoke. And for lack of a better term, that's why we picked it.
Good way to put it.
So there you go. This is a company that everybody told me out there is just a great corporate citizen.
So when do we get an ale trail?
Well, actually, we did one in Roanoke for a month this year, and I've
Yeah.
talked with some of the people over at Visit Virginia's Blue Ridge, and they are seriously looking at that. But, you know, there's a lot of other similarities. You know, Bend lost, they were a big logging town, and
Right.
Roanoke was a big railroad town. And they lost the logging, and we lost the railroad. They have a river, we have a river, they
Right.
have mountains, we have mountains. And tonight at 11 o'clock, we'll be looking at the similarities between the two towns. We've also actually done some cost comparisons about the cost of living and
Very
that type of thing,
interesting.
and all that's on WSLS.com.